Hi, Professor Riley. This side of the room for the debate will be the English only side, and then that side will be for the multiple language side. Oh, okay, so to defend our side, some of our points were for doing English only education is that it's cheaper for schools. And then another one was that if the student speaks the language, he'll learn it better as he goes. And also, English is a universal language that everyone knows, and it's considered to be the language of money.
Also, reasons for English only instruction would be that as right now, almost 30 states have English as their official language. And by requiring students to learn and speak in one language, children are more likely to intermingle with their peers and have well-rounded perspectives and personalities, as well as its bilingual education would inhibit a student's ability to learn English because they'd be relying on their native languages in classes as a crutch.
Okay. For our introduction, we found that over 10% of the population of schools consists of ELL students, so we believe that that's too big of a population in schools to just kind of ignore. I think that having a bilingual education program can help this population so that they can be on a similar level with the rest of their peers. And then also, if you learn a second language at a younger age, you have a better chance of acquiring that language. So giving students opportunity to have bilingual education puts them in the position to acquire a second language from an early age in their life. And I just think that this program will promote diversity within schools and have more of an open mind because English isn't the official language of the United States. I think it's good to have an open mind on what languages could be used.
Well, no, I'm crossing. Yeah, you could speak. Do your, you have to.
Do you have anything to add from what I said?
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'll cross it. Okay. So our questions to you are: if not a bilingual education program, then what age do you believe that students should start to learn a second language?
It would be best if they started to learn when they were of a really young age, because the window of when you can learn another language is from 5 to 8. So
would that be a bilingual? Or no, would it be different? You just learned at a younger age.
yeah.
Okay. So, do you believe that learning a second language is an important life skill? How could it help?
I mean, it definitely could be helpful, but should it be required or brought into the classroom? No, because it's more so a hassle, adding more money to the budget, in which case, if you just taught in one language, it'd be simpler and everyone would be on the same balance.
And then our last question to you is, do you think it's important to have diversity within education and the classrooms and stuff?
Yeah, it's important to have diversity. And experience different cultures, and with diversity you get more perspectives and a wide variety of perspectives, so you don't have your own closed window. But it's also important that in the classroom everyone can communicate and understand each other in one way.
All right, so questions for the bilingual education side. So you say that we should be teaching students bilingually as young as possible, but so what do you suggest we do when students come at a secondary education age, so say 14, and they need ELL services? Would you say that bilingual education is still optimal for them, or would you prefer a English-only approach?
So someone's coming from another country. Yeah.
Well, I think it depends on the circumstance. I mean, if we're speaking to a situation of Spanish, and let's say this hypothetical student speaks Chinese, then I think, for the most part, that the focus should be upon adjusting them to what is the predominant native language, in which case, most places, it is going to end up being English. Now, under the circumstance that bilingual education really takes hold, maybe let's say 30, 40 years from now, and there will probably be significant portions of the United States that will have people predominantly speaking Spanish. They are the fastest growing demographic. I think in that instance, it may be most useful for them to primarily learn Spanish because that might be I guess more so the lingua franca, or what is the mode of communication that's most common. Should they still learn English? Yes, but I think in that circumstance, it should be whatever is most useful and of the greatest utility to that particular child.
I think going off that too, like once you get to high school, you have more control over like a student's curriculum. So say you have like a bilingual program throughout a whole school district, like a whole school system that's like Spanish and English, let's say, but then like a student comes, like Will said, from China. You don't have to put them in that Spanish history class as part of your bilingual program. You could keep them, you could change their course load based on just having English classes. So having a bilingual program doesn't mean that a student who comes from China has to be in the bilingual program. It just means it's an option.
Okay, and I'll ask the second question, but you largely answered. How would you plan support students who speak a variety of languages not spoken in the United States? So mostly in the United States, when we talk about bilingual education, we're talking about English and Spanish. But what happens when you get a kid who speaks Hindi, or speaks Arabic, or speaks Mandarin? But unless you want to add something else, it's one question.
I mean, I also, just like from my experience, like I've met a lot of people who are from like other countries. Like the person who I tutored this semester is from China, and she's taking Spanish classes here, and like took French at home. Like people in other countries know like 3+ languages. We're one of the few countries who only knows basically one language. And so many people only know English here. So I think that it's still, if someone comes and they just speak like Arabic, I think it's still a good opportunity for them to have something like Spanish available to them.
I guess also, I think it depends on the age. If it's early primary education, I think they absolutely should still embrace the bilingual program because I think it'll be very advantageous to them, particularly later on in life. Secondary level might be a little bit more of a question where, again, it depends on circumstance, what's best for the student. But I think for the most part, if time and ability allows, I think it should be pursued.
All right, and so last question would be, how do you plan to fund these programs with school funding already fairly tight as it is?
So like we alluded to, sorry. Well, I think this is somewhat of a probably indicative across education where there's many programs in many different school districts that are not really properly funded. You could say it's the structure in terms of how most of it comes from the municipality rather than the state or federal government, and potentially how responsibility falls upon school districts because of that arrangement. But even still, I think again, like there are many issues that need to be approached from the position of funding. Would it be a large undertaking? Absolutely. You would have to rework a lot of curriculum in order to build materials. Just plain instruction that is actually able to fit this process and actually train teachers towards that. So it's definitely a large undertaking. But it's also been done by many other countries. So I understand it's a large task to undertake, but I think in the end it'll be more than worth it for anybody to actually move through it by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah, I agree. I think if other countries have made it work so well, because so many other countries implement like bilingual programs with English and their native language, I think that it could be made to work here if it was prioritized more.
All right, should we transition?
Yeah. I think you guys do closing
Yeah, we go
statements
first.
Okay, so we hear everything you're saying, but we believe that it's better to have an English-only approach because it is not the official language of the country, but it's most commonly spoken, and it's in every school district. It would be easier for the teachers, and it'd be best to communicate with the students, and they'll also learn it as they go.
And an English-only instruction would also help those students in the future because most jobs in the United States you need to be able to speak and communicate in English. So having English-only instruction would help them develop that language enough and really help them get jobs in the future to be able to communicate better.
I think it would also, when we're talking about getting them assimilated to the country and getting them to be functional in the country. English only would be the fastest way to get them to be English proficient, and then from there, once you're English proficient, you can get them working on additional languages on top of that. And I think the best way to do that is get them proficient in English as fast as possible. And I think English only would be the best way to do that.
That's closing statement.
Well, on the other hand, I think that we should celebrate diversity within the education classroom. And this educational opportunity will allow students to excel like in Spanish and English and both, especially if they're learning it at a young age. And since our world is becoming so much more diverse, there's a lot more students in schools that speak Spanish originally. So schools should be just as diverse as well as our country is becoming.
I just think like going off the job thing, I think it's such a hireable like quality for someone to have if they can speak a second language. So I think that like having a bilingual program isn't shutting down learning English, it's just promoting learning multiple languages, which I think will make someone more hireable for a job. Also, like currently only 25% of American adults report that they can speak a language other than English. Meanwhile, in so many other countries, people can speak so many other languages. So I think it's just such an important tool, especially now with Spanish becoming so predominant in the United States, to be able to speak both languages.
Well, I think to speak both to your point, Thomas, and also your three, is that we are actually not a very homogenous country. I think you could say that we have particular majorities, but also we have very, very significant minorities that are not within, like I guess what we consider to be, might be the national identity of the country. And through that, I think we should relatively embrace that, particularly people of like Hispanic origin, considering almost half this country was at one point in time part of Spain and or Mexico. But then also, I think you made the point to which we should focus on English first, but also I think we should really seize upon that small window of what is children's neuroplasticity. They're able to learn language at a heightened point, at a fairly early point in their life, and frankly, we should take advantage of that. If we put all of our money into English in an early point, we may very well lose the opportunity to make them fluent, if not just proficient in another language, which is also a great utility to them.
All right, that's it. Bye, Professor Arlen.